Hello and welcome back to How to Homeschool in High School, the podcast focused on encouraging and equipping you to homeschool through high school, hosted by a high school teen. My name is Nadine Laufer, and welcome to episode number 43. Wow, 43 of this podcast. I am so excited for this episode specifically because it's very special. I just started getting involved with Turning Point USA about, a few months ago, and it was right around the time where this reel was floating around Instagram. It was going viral, and it was with Charlie Kirk. And a homeschooler got up and asked him a question. And Charlie Kirk's answer was wonderful. It was about pursuing wisdom and truth and valuing education and everything. But I loved that this homeschool student, this homeschool teen, went up and asked him a question. And it was such a thoughtful question. I just wanted to learn more. And I see an amazing homeschooler doing something cool. And I'm like, I need to get in touch with them and see if they want to be on the podcast to talk about it with you guys. So that is exactly what happened. And I was able to find Dylan through the internet. And I reached out to him and I was like, I love your reel with Charlie Kirk. Would you mind coming on here and talking about that experience on the podcast? And he agreed. So this is the episode where I get to talk with Dylan about his experience with Turning Point USA, his homeschooling experience. We cover so much. I mean, just not beyond Turning Point USA, beyond PragerU, like his own community, his own homeschooling experience, and encouragement for those of us who are homeschooling as well. So it's a great interview. I'm so excited for you guys to listen. There's one thing I would recommend. I have linked in the show notes the YouTube video of his talking with Charlie Kirk, the question that he asked, and then Charlie Kirk's answer. We discussed it in the episode, and I assume prior knowledge of this viral Instagram reel. So if you haven't seen it, I recommend you just go and listen to it. I think it's like 4 minutes or something, very short. We do clarify, like halfway through the episode, I realized, oh my goodness, people might not have seen this. So I do ask him to clarify and explain in more detail what happened. But just so you're on the same page as all of us, I recommend going and listening to it, and you will benefit from hearing from it anyway, not beyond just listening to this episode. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so welcome to How to Homeschool in High School. Today we have the privilege of talking with Dylan. And Dylan, I think usually I find my interviews through my community and then online. And one day my dad sent me one of the reel of you talking to Charlie Kirk. And first off, I absolutely loved that you mentioned you were a homeschooler at the beginning, because I see too many students kind of be ashamed of homeschooling experience. They don't go around saying, no, I'm a homeschooler. So the fact that you did that right off the bat was something that struck me. And I wanted to thank you for doing that, because it really does unite the community in a very powerful way. And, it makes me excited. I absolutely loved what you asked him. And I can't wait to hear that whole story. But to start off with, I was wondering, how long have you been homeschooled?
So I've actually been homeschooled my entire life.
Okay.
And it was just, I think one of my parents made the decision because they were public schooled before, and they just didn't want that, negative influence to somewhat come upon me. So yeah.
Yeah. I think that's my favorite question to ask, because everyone kind of has a different story for why they continued homeschooling. But I also want to know, some families stop homeschooling through high school. And I'm guessing you're a high school student or student?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
9th grade, 10th grade-ish?
10th grade.
Okay, cool.
Yes, sophomore.
Nice. So why did you guys continue homeschooling through high school?
So it just kind of felt natural because I have an older sister, and she is a senior. So I kind of felt natural just to do that. So yeah.
Yeah. And have you enjoyed the experience so far?
Of course, of course. And I've been, again, homeschooled my entire life, so I didn't really know what it was like to be a public school, but I don't really have any want to go to public school. So
why do you think that is? Because I do see sometimes, especially sometimes in my community, not really that much, but this kind of desire, fear of missing out, kind of related to high school. Do you think that hasn't been a real problem for you?
So, of course, I do speak to some public schoolers because, I go places and I meet a few public schoolers here and there. And I just I'm not sure we're like on the same page because of course I have a lot of friends from certain places. Like I go to a co-op, so
Mm,
I make certain friends. I'm not like protected or living under a rock or
hmm.
anything.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not just so sure that public schoolers and homeschoolers are on the same page.
Hmm.
Of course, everything's different. Every public schooler is different. Every homeschooler is different. So I'm just not so sure that we can. I'm missing much because everybody's kind of just in a way like not on the same page.
Hmm. Yeah, I think sometimes we can want something we don't really truly understand. That's my understanding of the fear of missing out. A lot of the times, though, it comes from a place where you don't really have a thriving homeschooling community or a lot of things you're involved in. And I understand where that would come from. Um, because we've been blessed with a community. We don't go to a co-op, but we have a, sports community. We have other activities we do. And if we didn't have that, I could see the temptation to think that um, it's just a lacking experience. But it doesn't sound like you have that experience whatsoever. So, have you always been in a co-op, or is that something you started in high school?
So my mom actually used to teach. So I have three siblings.
Okay.
So my mom actually used to teach all of us when I was younger.
Hmm.
So when we got older, my mom was like, "Okay, so I already taught you, all the basics really, and now since you're older and more mature, you can go ahead and learn from other teachers."
Mm.
So yeah, it was kind of like a relief for my mom, so that she can
Hmm.
t start teaching um, my younger siblings.
Mm.
With yeah.
Yeah, that does make sense. And when you get into high school, sometimes the rigor of the courses, well, not sometimes, it does increase. And with my mom, she just loved teaching certain things, but not so much other things. So having outside teachers that instill a love in us of my mom didn't necessarily love science, so having a science teacher who loved science instilled in us a love of science that she might have not been able to do. So I can see that kind of being a something that benefits homeschool parents as you get into high school. Um, so why has co-ops worked for you guys? I know not everyone enjoys co-ops, but have you enjoyed it?
Of course, of course. I wasn't really too familiar with like the whole system that operates. Again, like co-ops are different. So backing up, my homeschool, my co-op
Hmm.
actually kind of runs their whole program kind of like a college. So like you have
Mm,
certain classes on certain days, and then you have to get the schoolwork done by the next day. Like for
yeah,
example, my class is on Tuesday, and then they assign us work, and you're supposed to complete that work um, kind of on your own. And then the next Tuesday or the following Tuesday, you're supposed to have all that work assigned done. So that I had to kind of get used to because I was kind of used to
mm,
someone teaching me doing it kind of every day instead of doing it myself.
hmm.
So
Yeah. It's just a different rhythm that you kind of have to get used to. But do you find that it wasn't challenging for you to kind of adjust to that more classroom setting?
yeah, so it was the thing about I think homeschooling is that you learn how to be adaptable
Hmm.
and you learn how to be flexible because you are somewhat to some extent to a certain extent. So um, it wasn't too hard uh, at all really, but it was honestly in a way somewhat relieving because you didn't really have a teacher telling you what to do, even though if you like already like kind of understood it, you kind of
Hmm.
could just go ahead and just do it. And I really appreciated that.
Hmm. So you still have the flexibility that you had before. It's just a little bit more structured. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
In a way, yes, yes.
Hmm.
It's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah, I do enjoy the different opportunities we have regarding how we can do high school. Co-ops are a great option. Some people do like dual enrollment. I don't know if you've done any dual enrollment classes or in the future if you're going to do some of those, but it does still allow you to have that flexibility of your schedule, and it still encourages independent learning. It's just not that 6 hours a day of nonstop different classes that is conventional schooling, high school. So and then I always ask for resources and curriculum things that you enjoy, because the podcast is primarily for teens and parents to get more inspiration for homeschooling high school. So were there any resources that you're using now that you really enjoy using?
So the so the co-op that I go to is
Hmm.
called Facet, and
Hmm.
it's just like a local co-op that I go
Hmm.
to.
Yeah.
And we cover this curriculum, I believe it's called Worldviews. Um, Actually, I have the book with me right now. Let me see. Let me see what it is. So it is The Grandeur of Christianity
Mm.
by Quine by David Quine. And there we actually learn a ton of subjects. We cover a ton of subjects
Hmm.
just from that one class. So
Wow.
we cover like writing, reading, and all those things. And we also get dual credit from that.
Mm.
And so yeah, it's kind of like an all-in-one class. So we actually get to read a lot of cool books. Like right now,
Mm.
we're reading The Pilgrim's Progress, and it's actually a really, really cool book. It's makes a lot of references to the Bible with their
Mm.
characters and everything. And yeah, and we also got to read the Odyssey and the Iliad, which
Hmm.
were personally my favorite epics, and
Yeah.
they're great. And we also read the Aeneid, which is kind of like a somewhat of
Mm.
a rip-off, but not really a rip-off. It's like yeah, it's by the Romans because they try to prove uh his the king's kind of like royalty and how he's like related to gods and stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, it was kind of interesting. But yeah, I really enjoy reading it and doing this book and following the curriculum.
Yeah. The one thing I love about curriculums like that is it does bring in a bunch of different subjects in one, which is something that is very unique to homeschooling. Compartmentalization of school subjects is something that happens in, traditional schooling, but homeschooling gives you the unique opportunity to kind of combine them all because they are connected. And I like curriculums that do that. But yeah, I read the Iliad and we started the Odyssey. We didn't finish. Um, the words, sometimes the way that they structure sentences and everything took me a while to get used to reading that. Was that something that you struggled with?
Yeah, half of the time I did not even really know what they were saying, but
Yeah.
I still had to read and like if I completely like didn't understand like anything, I would just go back and like reread it like
Hmm.
out loud and stuff so I can understand it. And I also since it's homeschooling and you can do it by yourself, I also looked up a few videos on like on
Mm.
YouTube just to kind of like explain like what I'm reading because again, it was made like a while ago. So
Hmm.
like I believe the author like Homer wasn't even like it's not even proven that he was like a real man because he was like
Yeah.
that far back. Yeah, so we don't even know if he was an actual author. So, yeah, the language there is very difficult to read.
Hmm. Yeah. And I did feel though, well, actually, what we did was they have these, which I didn't even know they made these things, comic books versions of the Iliad and the Odyssey. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but it was very good. Like the artist was incredible. But I would read the chapter in the comic book first, so I would understand what in the world was going on when we actually read the real version. But I felt the more I read it, the easier that it got to understand. And you having read both of them, I'm sure that has helped. Just it's kind of like I don't know, reading is exercising your brain. So the more you get used to this different style of language, I feel like the easier it gets. But it's hard. It's hard to start.
Yes, for sure. I didn't know they made a comic book version. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah, it
Man.
was. And I think they do Shakespeare too. I think that's what they do. But they kind of take these hard like literature, um, long books, and they make them more engaging for people to read because our culture is just continuously getting more um, pictures, and it's just easier for us to understand that.
For
So
sure.
I thought that was really cool. So again, with your the way you've done high school so far, um, do you do anything outside your co-op, or is it all through everything through them?
So like other school, I do all my
Yeah.
school through them.
Sometimes I hear people, well, I did this too, supplement outside of their curriculum that their co-op offers.
Right. Yes, I have a lot of uh friends that do both. Like they do like some stuff at home, some
Mm.
stuff at the co-op. I do everything at the co-op right now.
Hmm.
It's just easier because,
Yeah.
I'm one of four siblings, so it's gonna be kind of you know, chaotic
Hmm.
if my parents, are worrying about, one kid going here, one kid going here, and even if like I
Hmm.
do a subject like by myself, it's gonna be kind of difficult,
Yeah.
from my parents' standpoint.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot of moving pieces, especially if you have a family that does a bunch of different things, which is mine too. We're all over the place.
yes,
So, yeah, keeping it as simple as possible is great. And if your co-op offers all of it, why not just keep it simple? Um,
exactly.
so if oh wait, yes, so the next thing I kind of go into with regarding homeschooling journeys is your community that you're with. So when you guys started homeschooling, was that something you struggled to find a homeschooling community, co-ops and sports, whatever it may be?
It's a good question. So going back, my mom was
Mhm.
actually a teacher
Okay.
before she had all of us, before she had kids.
Hmm.
So to her, it kind of felt natural just to kind of meet other homeschooling moms when she started homeschooling us, so that their kids can get along with us, and so that we can kind of like keep this community going. And that went really well, socially.
Hmm.
And now, um, I go to a co-op to Tuesdays and Thursdays,
Okay.
and I also meet with, friends in between. And it's very actually it's very nice because
Hmm.
you're not going to school every day. And personally, I kind of I'm somewhat of like an introvert
Hmm.
because like I can talk to someone for like a few hours and maybe entire day, a few days, but then afterwards I'm just like, okay, like I can't talk. I just need like
Yeah. Yeah.
I need some time to myself or something because it gets long after a while. But I know some homeschoolers that are just complete extroverts that they can talk forever, and
Mm.
yeah, that's just, different character. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm more wired like you are. I tend to enjoy talk. I love talking with my friends, but after a while, I need a break. I need like a day at home. So it works out, I think, nicely for me, the way that we have our community built around us. But what are some of your favorite opportunities that you've had in your homeschooling community?
so again, I actually have a lot of flexibility
Hmm.
and a lot of time, with my family and all that good stuff. And
Hmm.
I also pursue boxing as a sport.
Mm.
And boxing is actually a pretty physically demanding sport, and
Yes.
it takes a lot of time and dedication to progress in it. And I actually have a fight coming up in May 3rd that I'm training for,
Mm.
and it's yeah, so it involves a lot of training, and I also get to go with my dad to our ranch that's our ranch,
Mm.
and we go hunting, we go working on it. Our grandparents actually live on the ranch, and we help them with their livestock. We have a few goats, a few cows, and we normally go there on the weekends, and that's really fun. Also attending, a lot of my family's own personal stuff as well, like my,
Hmm.
my siblings' games, their practices, and overall, those opportunities, I feel like it's just getting closer and closer with each other as a family and
Hmm.
with your community.
I love that. Yes. Getting closer with your community and your family has been a common theme through the homeschoolers I've talked to, as they all kind of they value the close-knit, experience of the family. And I see some people who are questioning homeschooling. How can you spend so much time with your family without getting like, I don't know, not bored of them, but it's just too much time with family. And sometimes I obviously need a break from everyone, but I don't know. I feel like that's been the opposite experience for me. I've loved my time with my family. Is that what you've seen too?
Of course, of course. I like learning. So
Hmm.
my dad, is should be the person that, or just a guardian or someone above you that's older than you that knows
Hmm.
obviously more than you. It's just awesome to receive insight from. And
Hmm.
also your siblings, there's something about, of course, getting annoyed with each other, but
Hmm.
afterwards you just y- you enjoy each other's company, and you learn to love one another. And having a good relationship with your mother, I feel like actually helps you have a good relationship with your future spouse. Of course,
Hmm.
I'm not speaking from experience at all, but that's at least what my dad says. So,
Hmm.
um, I love receiving and I love learning from my family,
Hmm.
and I feel like God made people to have a nuclear relationship with their family.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of this normal conventional schooling and working, whatever, has kind of destroyed that in a lot of ways. So I like this homeschooling kind of revival of the nuclear family and the close-knit relationships. And yeah, like you said, learning from your parents is something so wonderful. How to, I don't know, navigate social environments, how to navigate life. They're just always there. They're the people who love you and know you the best, who are giving you your education. I think that's very, very special that we have opportunity like that. So also I wanted to know, how did you get involved first in Turning Point USA?
So my sister and I actually do this somewhat, it's not a class, but like this program called PragerForce. And
Mm, hmm.
we,
Yeah.
my sister actually met a few people through there that are going to this TPUSA event, Turning Point USA event.
Mm,
And my sister just went with them. And then she liked it. And we, we saw that actually Charlie Kirk was going to the college nearby our house.
mm.
And we were like, oh, let's just go there. We bought some tickets to go. And yeah, it was fun. That's where I asked my question.
Yeah. Okay. And so you mentioned, what was the organization that you mentioned first? Um,
Prager Force.
so how did you guys first find that in your community?
So Dennis Prager is actually the one that started it.
Mm,
It's like a little sub, division of PragerU,
hmm.
which is like a conservative platform. And they made that for youngsters and teenagers like me, so that we can kind of network and have actually Q&As with some other people.
Hmm.
Um, we've actually through Prager Force, I've been able to ask questions to Dennis Prager himself, people
Mm.
like Brett Cooper, Will Witt, and there's a few other people, and that aren't really coming to mind, but uh, it was just very cool uh,
Yeah,
experience for sure.
that's really cool. Yeah, I listen to Brett Cooper all the time. So that's cool that they're all kind of connected in that organization. I've seen, oh my goodness, Prager? Prager?
Yes, you got it.
Okay.
You got it.
Why is that so hard for me to say? PragerU on Instagram a lot, and just their like little clips of different people talking. So that's really cool that you guys are involved in that. And that's something easily that homeschoolers can get involved in, I'm guessing.
Oh, yes, 100%. I mean, a lot of public schoolers do it,
Okay.
and homeschoolers can do it too because, just they're more flexible.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And so my other thing I wanted to know about the your question for Charlie Kirk, was that something that you had written before that you got there, or like why did you ask him that specific question?
So, my I just always admired how people like Dennis Prager, Candace
Hmm.
Owens, Will Witt, Brett Cooper, all those people handled themselves and defended their beliefs and also um, very well, like effectively expressed their opinions about
Hmm.
certain things. And so someone like Charlie Kirk, who is extremely well at public speaking,
Hmm.
I just felt like it was appropriate to ask a question like that. And and I think his answer to me, like, man, when he said that to me, I'm like, whoa, like, am I even here? Like,
Hmm.
I don't even know what's going on. Like, this feels like a movie. Like in my mind, it felt like a movie. Maybe like to the outside world, like it just felt like a normal question. But to me, it was very impactful for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, I know. I loved his response. It's been actually one of my favorite of his responses. Um, and I think the way that he answered your question was very important because the way that we value learning has a very big impact on our lives. And I think the idea that learning is a privilege has kind of gone away too because
Mhm.
I don't know, we have so much access to information. We have so much access to school. I mean, I read books like I'm sure you've heard Frederick Douglass or Booker T. Washington. I don't know if you read Up from Slavery. I am reading it now, but my family has talked about it for a long time, just how much they valued education as a way for to get freedom. And so I really appreciated what he has to say. Did you, have you like, how has his response impacted your life?
So, like a part of his answer, I got that the one quote, from Spider-Man to with great power comes great responsibility,
Yeah.
or the Bible verse, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I kind of just was like, okay, I'm going to take learning very seriously,
hmm
because at the end of the day, if you want to express your beliefs and defend your opinions and defend your beliefs, you have to be well educated on your beliefs and what you
hmm
believe in. And like I said, the whole wisdom and knowledge thing, I found that very uh, just very insightful because I haven't really heard that anywhere else really.
hmm
And I'm definitely working on that, and also the curriculum that I'm doing and using um, covers a lot what he said. Like,
hmm
what is the nature of man? I believe what is the nature of the universe? We cover all of that. It's part of a biblical worldview, and it's impacted me because I just really want to learn what truly I believe in.
hmm Yeah, that's really, really powerful. And I just realized that for anyone who was listening and didn't know what you asked him, this whole conversation might be kind of confusing. So could you like summarize the question and his response?
Of course, of course. So I asked how is he able to defend his beliefs
hmm
and defend his opinions as well as he does, and from a biblical standpoint. So that's
hmm
basically what I asked. And the answer that I got was that he take learning very seriously, to know more wisdom over the knowledge. Although knowledge is very important, wisdom is a lot more valuable because wisdom are about things that never change, and knowledge is about like what's two plus two, what's
hmm
all these kind of things that in a way you should already know, or like in college the degrees you already have,
hmm
and so that was basically his answer.
Yeah. Yeah, and then knowledge is like the facts of life,
Yes.
kind of, and then wisdom is the eternal knowledge, which is just so cool to think that we have the opportunity to learn something that powerful. So, do you see that Turning Point USA being involved in your future? Like, do you think you'll do other things like attend more events?
Yes, I do 100% because actually at that event that I went to where I asked my question, I was able to make my own chapter for Turning Point USA.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
yes, and with your own chapter, you can like have they basically fund you so that you can have like your own community within like your school, within your within your own things that you do, like
hmm
sports and everything like that. So actually a friend of mine from school was at the event where I asked my question,
hmm
and him and I started the chapter together. Me and my sister
Yeah.
started the chapter. And with that, we actually went to Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, where I think what their biggest event was, where they had Dennis Prager speak, they had
hmm
uh, Trump Jr. speak, and they had all these other great speakers there.
hmm
And we were able to go, just my sister and I actually, and also my friend from school.
hmm
And it was very fun. It was very amazing, and also, going back to my chapter that we started, we can host many events with the with Turning Point's um, funds, so we can have a lot of uh, events within the chapter, probably on behalf of my school as well. So I think it would definitely be involved. Turning Point
Yeah.
USA would definitely be involved in my life.
That's awesome. And you know what's so crazy is I was just wanting to get more information for how homeschoolers could get involved in Turning Point USA because I thought it might be, I don't know, it was on their website and they were talking about getting on your campus and everything. I'm like, well, you don't really have a campus. So I was actually going to reach out to them and ask that question. So how did you guys start it without like actual campus.
No, I actually didn't know that. That's really cool. So my friend and I from school
Hmm.
actually thought it would be the best idea to somewhat have the chapter uh, as a part of the school because
Hmm.
it's a co-op
Yeah.
and I'm sure if we like rent a room at that place or get other people from that school,
Hmm.
we can start like our own chapter together. So we're still working that whole thing out actually
Hmm.
right now. So we haven't completely finalized that.
Yeah, but it's definitely on its way. So that's really cool.
Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
and I think I did end up reaching out to them, and they said that as long as you have like two, three people involved in it, then you can definitely start it without having to actually have a high school campus. I was like, that's cool, especially thinking about going to local co-ops around me, wanting to know if anyone would be interested, but doing exactly what you're doing, which is just finding where we have a congregation of homeschoolers, and I'm sure there's interest in the homeschooling community for more things like that. And that's interesting that you can host events too. There's so much you can do through them.
Yes, of course. And again, homeschooling is helping me do that because
Hmm.
if I were in public school, I probably wouldn't have the time really to do that.
Hmm.
So,
You do have the flexibility, the amount of I don't know, just yeah, the time we get back is so
mhm.
powerful if we use it in a good way to benefit our community. I've been talking to some of the I don't know. We were at recently. We went to a homeschool convention in Ohio, and I had a lot of moms come up to me saying that their sons were very, I don't know, dissatisfied with their homeschooling experience. I think a lot of them actually said they were going back to public school the next year. And I don't know. I feel like it was something that I don't address too much on the podcast, and I wish I did address it more. And you sound like you were having an amazing experience, and you've mentioned that you don't really have a need to think of and want to go back to public school. So, would you have anything to say to them and anyone who's struggling with homeschooling? Any advice you would give them?
Okay. Actually, do you know what they were struggling with or
Mm.
like what they didn't like?
You know what? I
Oh,
think it was all. That's a good point to clarification.
mhm.
I think it was about community. Honestly, I think that they felt they didn't have the sports opportunities or the
Oh,
I don't just the opportunities that are presented through public school in a much easier way. I think homeschooling we do have them. It's just sometimes it's harder to find. Sometimes you have to start them on your own.
mm.
So I think that's what they're struggling with is community.
Okay, okay. Do you know if they were public schooled before then?
I don't think so.
Okay, okay. So I guess my advice would be, or my take on that. Of course, public school it isn't evil. So if
Hmm.
public school is the best option for you, then do it. If that's all you can do, then do it.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, my parents and also myself want to do what's best for me at this t point in
Hmm.
time. So I believe that the best option is homeschooling. And if they want to do more sports and everything. Of course, there are other options for homeschooling. Like for example, there's like this one really big kind of sports thing for homeschoolers that is called like Feast, I think, and they have football,
Hmm.
baseball, they have volleyball, they have all the good stuff, and they can easily do that. So yeah.
Yeah, it just takes a little bit more initiative. And I
Mhm.
like how you mentioned that it was your family and you kind of partners in deciding what's best for you in high school. I think, especially when we get older, homeschooling becomes a partnership between us and our parents, kind of because we become more aware of, the decisions we're making for academics. And it does ultimately end up in the hands of the student, especially as you go into college. Your education becomes something that's your own. Um, so yeah, and public school, it has, I've seen it be very good for some people not so much. Um, and I think also sometimes for lifelong homeschoolers, I've seen this in my community. It's just kind of you think you want something, but then you actually find out that you don't really want it when you actually are in there. I've had friends go to conventional or private school and last 3 months, and they're like, "Nope, we're going back to homeschooling," because we didn't know how much we actually loved it until we got what we thought we wanted. So something like that. But yeah, I appreciate your answer and your voice in the homeschooling community is very very powerful. So I hope you continue to I don't know do everything you're doing because it really matters.
Of course. I wish the same as well. Thank you. Thank you.
And then I have like a final question. What is something you wish more people knew about homeschoolers?
Homeschool. Okay, I feel like a lot of public schoolers think that us homeschoolers have it easy
Mm,
and that we have it um somewhat kind of like just handed to us like we're like a silver spoon in a way. And I mean, of course, for some of us it is. But for a lot of us, we do need to learn how to manage our time well, like how you mentioned
mm,
earlier. A lot of public schoolers, they wake up, they go, and they just follow their routine and the program through the ch
hmm
public school, and they go back home, do sports, come back home, go to bed, same routine over and over again. Us homeschoolers, we have to adapt. We have to be very
hmm
flexible with our schedule, with our time, and we have to learn to get our education done because again, education is very important,
hmm
especially at this time in our lives. So we have to take that responsibility and that accountability to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah, it does become a lot more of our own responsibility. And it just like, just like life will, like your boss or your college experience, whatever it may be, they're going to give you stuff to do, but they're not going to tell you explicitly how to get it done. You're going to be in charge of how you manage your day and what you do get done. Something we learned from a very, very young age as homeschoolers.
For
Definitely,
sure.
definitely not just handed to us a lot of the time. Yeah, we're capable of doing hard work. I've heard other homeschoolers kind of say that they feel other people don't think that they're capable of doing hard things because they feel like their parents might hand them grades or whatever. Oops, totally missed that. Yeah, we do work hard for what we have.
Yes, of course.
And so, what are some of your future plans? I know you're 10th grader, so I didn't know what I was going to do until a few months ago. But do you have any ideas of what you want to do in the future?
So, I do, and that point that you just made is really good. Homeschooling also, you can take as much time as you want, really, just to figure out what you want to do, because
Hmm.
a lot of
That's true.
times, yeah, is very, very important what you want to do. So my dad actually has he runs a computer cyber business, and
Mm,
I'm not that interested in computers. I'm not really much of a computer guy. Maybe
mm,
my younger brother, but not me.
mm,
So I'm not gonna really follow my dad's footsteps on that, but I might follow his footsteps in this real estate business that he's created.
mm.
And it's small because he spends most of his time on the computer cyber business
Yeah.
and doesn't have as much time to work on the real estate business. So in my opinion, no need to reinvent the wheel. It's right there, somewhat just waiting
Mm,
for someone to take it. And I was like, okay, well, that'd be really cool just to do real estate actually. So if I need to go to college, I will. If I don't need to, I won't. I heard that college um, is not is not essential to have a successful job. So again, I don't think that college is evil or anything like that, but I'm really just looking at it as a tool,
hmm. Yeah.
yeah, because at the end of the day, it's around 4 years of your life that you're spending learning
Mhm.
something. So might as
Yeah.
well make it something that you yeah you really like and you really want to do. And like my older sister, she's gonna go to college, and because she's gonna go into financing, I believe,
Mm,
and so that she can help with the business that my father has. And I also want to be an entrepreneur as well,
mhm,
not just strictly real estate. I also want to do other things, and I feel like real estate is just very recognized and popular right now because of its, I guess, kind of cheat code to making money. Of course, social media and YouTube and things like that have kind of overhyped that idea because it's
mm,
actually really hard to make money
mm,
being an entrepreneur. But I feel like if you just go and go at it, and of course have mentorship,
mhm.
it's very it can be achieved.
Yeah. And I like how you mentioned college as a tool and not just as an experience, which I see a lot of students go into colleges for more of the experience and less of the tool, because it is an investment of your time and your money
Of
for for
course.
for an extended period of time, and that you have that business that your dad has kind of waiting. I love that so much. And then the entrepreneur spirit, I feel like, is something that's built also in homeschooling. it blends really well into that, just kind of making something of your own and putting your own and being your own boss, because you're used to running your own day from, your schooling experience. So
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
that's really cool. And I always kind of end on this because I think it's really cool to hear what different homeschoolers have to say. But what is your best piece of advice for other homeschool teens?
So my advice would be to really take in these years of your life, because, of course, all time is very important.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, we only have one life. So I'm not so sure if you're a Christian. You're Christian,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, we should be on the same page. So I believe that God gave us His life, and we should
Mhm.
really um, glorify Him in it. So take these years of your life to really dig down and to learn as much as you can, and also make goals. Make your goals, set them, and do whatever it takes to get to those goals,
Mhm.
because these years dictate a lot of your future and a lot of your life from now on. So what you do now is very crucial on what happens later.
Mhm. Yeah. And I heard this one time that really stuck with me, which, like, when you're young, a young adult, you have the least amount of responsibility you probably will ever end up having. You're not really paying mortgage, you're not doing taxes, you don't have a family to run. So now is a wonderful opportunity to really reach for your dreams and really use your time in the best way possible. And I never thought about it like that before. I always thought I have to wait till I'm like out of college to make a difference. I have to wait till I to get the degree or get the job. No, you can start right now, and make a difference in the world around you as a young adult, as a teen, if you're purposeful about it, which is what I love about what you said, being very intentional on how you're using your time, that God has given you. He's given us all this to honor Him and to, have fun as well, but to make a difference. Yeah, so thank you so much for being on the podcast and for sharing everything you did. I know this is going to bless a lot of people. So thank you again for taking the time.
Of course, thank you. It was such an honor, and I pray that you keep on doing the same, and keep on going and doing what you're doing. It's really great.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to let me know how you liked the episode, there's a new feature with Buzzsprout, and it's called Fan Mail, and you can you could just send me a little text how you like the episode. So it's kind of cool. I'm just trying it out for fun. I've done it on a few podcast episodes. I've found that, have that option, and it's kind of fun. I mean, you get to write a little note. So if you want to do that, it's in the show notes. Let me know what you thought of the episode. If you have any questions, concerns, my email as always is linked in the show notes as well. And then everything we talked about. So if you're interested in starting a TPUSA chapter in your homeschooling community, information is linked in the show notes. And I've been in contact with a lot of people from Turning Point, and they are all so super excited about getting more homeschoolers involved. So if that is something that you are wanting to do, I highly recommend that you do it, because there are so many cool options. There's so many doors open for you to do events, to go to events, to host events if you have a chapter in your area. So I also wanted to give you guys a look into next week's episode. I'm interviewing another current homeschooler. She just earned her Stars and Stripes Award from American Heritage Girls, the highest award you can get from that program, from a program I'm very familiar with. And I'm excited to kind of dive deeper into American Heritage Girls and also Trail Life, which is the boys' scouting troop that's very heavily associated with American Heritage Girls, and the value that can add to your homeschooling experience, and the value it has added to my homeschooling experience and also Elizabeth's. We talk a lot more about different, like 4-H also. She's very involved in 4-H. So things beyond American Heritage Girls, but also surrounding her Stars and Stripes project and the benefit that is had on her homeschooling experience. So yeah, that is something to look forward to next week. Thank you guys again for listening, and continue to stay fearlessly different.